This young man came today with his friend Dotup Tam to the National Esports Center to attend the welcome event for the country's strongest fighter named Park Han Kwang. He is an arrogant guy, always thinking he is unbeatable, and he looks down on the Z country's players from Luke Tron with great disdain. He even openly called them trash to teach Park Han Kwang a lesson. At that time, Dotup Tam used 2 hot pot meals to ask Luke Tron to challenge him. Luke Tron had only been using the mouse for 2 months and just mastered the rules of this game last night. Yet just for 2 hot pot meals, he boldly stepped onto the stage to compete with Park Han Kwang. What no one expected was that Luke Tron punched Park Han Kwang right in the mouth, missed no moves, and won by a huge margin. When interviewed after the match, Luke Tron didn't hide that it was his first time playing the game, a true newbie. This truth made Park Han Kwang even more humiliated. Who would believe that a player considered the strongest fighter in Country H could lose to a freshman student playing the game for the first time? That day, Luke Tron crushed Park Han Kwang's pride and restored honor for Country Z. Amid the roar of the crowd, he instantly rose to become the new king of the game called Chien Jiap. After that match, Luke Tron became a rising star in esports with numerous records and top rankings. He successfully entered the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, the heavens often envy talented people. Just as Luke Tron proudly stood on the pinnacle of glory, he was involved in a traffic accident. After the accident, he was lucky to survive, but suffered serious brain nerve damage with little chance of recovery. When highly focused, Luke Tron's reflexes delay by 3 seconds. This usually doesn't affect daily life, but for a professional gamer like Luke Tron, it has a huge impact. From then on, his ranking steadily declined. In the blink of an eye, Luke Tron fell from first place to below 100th. Those who once feared him now openly mocked him whenever they met him in the game. Today, a headache hit again. Luke Tron planned to go to sleep, but while standing up, he accidentally saw something under the desk, a virtual reality headset for the game Thien Tung, specially made for Hall of Fame members, recently sent by the Nguyet Hang Corporation. After being hunted for so long, Luke Tron had even forgotten he was a Hall of Fame member. Out of curiosity, he decided to check out this new game. The moment the headset powered on, Luke Tron felt like he was swimming in a sea of data. The virtual reality technology of Nguyet Hang Corporation is truly advanced. Soon after Luke Tron arrived at the welcome hall for new players, he felt so real, as if he had truly stepped into a luxurious palace. Even the stone pillars in the hall seemed genuinely textured. "Welcome, Luke Tron, to the welcome hall!" a clear voice rang out. "Hello, I am System Teen 01. A tiny fairy appeared before Luke Tron, representing the Thien Tung system. After verification, the system recognized you as Luke Tron, a Hall of Fame member from Region Z. Players who are Hall of Fame members have the privilege of receiving a dedicated ID, and Luke Tron can continue using his old ID Luke Tron. But honestly, the name Luke Tron has become the biggest joke in the Hall of Fame, so Luke Tron doesn't want to see it again at all. He changed to another name, Chiu Kik Trum Sa, to start over. Chiu Kik Trum Sa means unrefined iron that must be sharpened to become better. Luke Tron was very satisfied with the meaning of this name. After confirming the ID, the system let him choose race and class. 10 basic classes appeared before him. This time, Luke Tron took a long time to consider. He didn't know which class suited him best, a knight with strong action or a balanced warrior with both offense and defense. While Luke Tron was still undecided, the system suddenly displayed another message. The VR headset would automatically take a blood sample to check his health through a tiny needle on the left side of the headset. After that accident, Luke Tron was very afraid of blood draws, so his whole body trembled uncontrollably. After completing the blood sample collection, the system quickly returned the health check results, and confusingly, all of Luke Tron's indicators showed red alerts. For example, his heart rate was 30% lower than normal people. His temperature was 70% below the standard, his brainwave response exceeded 120% of the normal standard, and most importantly, Luke Tron's life signs were only at 50%. This situation made him extremely anxious. What was going on? Could it be that his VIP-level gaming helmet was just an empty shell? That night, from Luke Tron's apartment in the building, came a piercing red light, and the young man's shout, "Damn it, don't mess with me like that." However, Luke Tron's alarming physical condition actually helped him unlock a hidden class, the Death Spirit Swordsman. This was truly a silver lining in hardship. The Death Spirit Swordsman is the strongest warrior in the Purgatory, descendant of the Tula Divine clan, wielding the power of the 4 sacred beasts, dominating all night spirits. Luke Tron never expected to have such a fortunate chance. He had no reason to refuse the Death Spirit Swordsman class. So after confirming his class, Luke Tron immediately logged into the game. He woke up in the newbie village of Luan Thi with the mood of a defeated, abandoned man burning with revenge. Leuchtron appeared as a dry skeleton crawling up from underground. Leuchtron was extremely disgusted. Why did his game opening look so pathetic? Did this appearance look anything like a cool death spirit swordsman? The system seemed to read Leuchtron's thoughts and explained that this dry skeleton form was the training state of the death spirit swordsman. Leuchtron decided not to complain anymore. Good or bad, it was still a special hidden class. A skull was a skull. The person welcoming him was the village chief of Newbie Village Spirit Mage Na-Yi Vaughn. After a startling greeting, Leuchtron's inventory received a piece of equipment sent by the village chief, a peach wood sword. Leuchtron carried the new weapon to the radish garden to battle level 2 spirit rabbits. With the health bar of these little monsters, one strike would be enough to finish them off. But Leuchtron's biggest problem was the 3-second delay in processing information. So he decided to use a strategy of predicting the opponent's moves and swinging his sword 3 seconds ahead. The plan sounded perfect, but when Leuchtron tried it, he totally missed. He swung and missed, getting kicked painfully by the spirit rabbits. If swinging 3 seconds early didn't work, then he'd try slowing down the timing. Leuchtron tried swinging 2 seconds early and still missed. He reduced it to 1 second and still missed. But when he timed it to 0.9 seconds, the strike finally landed. Clearly, it wasn't that the rabbits were fast, but that Leuchtron's delayed reflexes were improving. Although in the end he was still beaten back to the respawn point by those low-level spirit rabbits, he felt extremely happy. Captain 13 Bamboo Shadow, Chaos World's #1 swordsman. I'm back. Leuchtron carried his sword back to the radish garden once again. On the way, he kept wondering why his reflex delay dropped to 0.9 seconds instead of the 3 seconds the doctor mentioned. Leuchtron's mind spun, feeling like he had forgotten something. Many fragmented images appeared in his head. A sports car crashed and smashed the front, a blood-stained baseball bat, and even the image of Quan Vu. All these things seemed unrelated. Leuchtron found it strange that they kept appearing in his mind for no reason. He also remembered the doctor saying his nervous system might be able to heal itself. At the time, Leuchtron thought it was just comforting words to keep him hopeful about survival. But judging by the current situation, it seemed the doctor's words were starting to come true. Looks like he still needed to go back to the hospital for a follow-up. As for the immediate problem, he just had to beat those spirit rabbits up good first. The system kindly reminded him to attack their necks, as that was their biggest weakness. Leuchtron obediently followed. With his delay now at 0.9 seconds, he quickly turned the tables. The reduced delay made Leuchtron feel exhilarated. The more he fought, the more motivated he became, hoping that one day his delay would disappear entirely. And once again you rise to the pinnacle of fame. After Leuchtron finished slaughtering the entire radish garden, he suddenly caught a strange creature. Upon closer look, it was another player with the in-game name, Tonight is a Bit Cold. Seeing him beaten so badly, Leuchtron quickly guessed that the next to appear must be the great boss of the radish garden. Sure enough, not long after, the level 10 giant spirit rabbit appeared. It was holding another player named Tonight is a Little Lonely, upside down by the ankle. The big-eared Rabbit King is a very hot-tempered, muscular beast ruling over the radish garden. Looking at its muscles compared to Leuchtron's walking skeleton frame, it was like night and day. That guy Tonight is a Little Lonely was thrown by it like a rocket. Just then, Tonight is a Bit Cold was also taken out by Leuchtron as a shield. The two brothers charged straight at each other and immediately grabbed hands to return to the respawn point. You two go ahead and rest assured I'll take revenge for you, Leuchtron said coolly. After dealing with the two unrelated players, he focused on the main problem. This was Leuchtron's first time facing a boss. After the delayed reflex was reduced, it was hard to suppress the excitement. He gripped his sword tightly, ready to respond to the enemy. Unexpectedly, that Rabbit King even had a weapon. Seeing Leuchtron draw his sword, it quickly strapped on a set of sharp bear claws on its hands. It looked like a gangster. Leuchtron began to feel the pressure, but forced himself to stay calm. The opponent must use close combat with high speed, and the best way to deal with such an enemy is to use stillness to control motion. While the opponent attacks, you have to dodge and find an opening. Just as Leuchtron thought this, the Rabbit King launched an attack. Indeed, it was very fast, and Leuchtron failed to dodge in time. But what he didn't expect was that this first strike took away 25% of his health. While he was still stunned, the system's simulation window popped up with an announcement about the immortality attribute of the Death Spirit. Before losing all health, the Death Spirit swordsman can quickly heal damaged bones and maintain the integrity of his skeleton. However, health cannot regenerate. Leuchtron read this twice, but still couldn't understand what the system was babbling about. If health can't recover, then why call it immortality? But this didn't matter as much as dealing with this gangster rabbit. If one hit took away 25% of his health, how much damage could his full power strike deal to the opponent? Leuchtron gave it his all with one strike, but unfortunately only caused 8 points of damage. He quickly backed away. Looks like this guy is tough, not only lightning fast and aggressive, but even his defense is very solid. Leuchtron chose a safe distance to step back. As soon as his foot touched the ground, the spirit rabbit aggressively charged again. This was all part of Leuchtron's plan. Taking advantage of its charge, he slashed a sword straight at the opponent's critical weak spot, the neck. But to his surprise, beneath the rabbit's fur was a layer of iron armor. It's just a boss of low-level minions. Does it have to be such a freak? The Rabbit King was furious from Leuchtron's counterattack. One punch from it broke a nearby ancient tree, making Leuchtron tense and swallow hard. If he got hit with one direct punch like that, his bones might shatter completely. In this situation, it was really hard to find a breakthrough. The Rabbit King's biggest weakness was already protected by iron armor. Judging by the health lost on both sides, the Rabbit King could take dozens more hits, but Leuchtron would be finished if he got hit once more. He hadn't even figured out a way to solve this yet. Meanwhile, the opponent seemed to go berserk. It uprooted a willow tree by the roadside with bare hands, then swung it fiercely toward Leuchtron. Fighting a scary opponent like that rabbit seemed tough, but Leuchtron wasn't so weak that a tree could crush him. He immediately used his combo attack to deal with that willow tree. Unfortunately, while Leuchtron was busy breaking that tree, the Rabbit King took the opportunity to sneak attack him. Didn't expect something that big to be so smart. However, as it rushed forward, it accidentally got hit in the eye by a flying splinter. This immediately caused 20 points of damage. Leuchtron found a breakthrough point. It seems the eye is really the opponent's weak spot. Distracted by this, Leuchtron got hit by a punch. Luckily, he quickly went with the punch's momentum and dropped his chin. Since it wasn't a direct hit, he only lost 15 health. But before Leuchtron could celebrate, the opponent immediately threw another punch at him. This time it hit the ribs directly. The crackling bones caused another 40 damage. Leuchtron was thrown by the Rabbit King, his whole body slammed into a nearby tree trunk. Now he only had 5 health points left. The impact made a big hole in the tree trunk. Leuchtron's upper body was stuck inside it. Only his 2 legs dangled outside the tree trunk. The Rabbit King wasn't about to rest for a second. Seeing the opponent trapped in the tree hollow, it rushed like an arrow to deliver a final deadly blow. But as the Rabbit King's fist was thrown, Leuchtron disappeared inside the hollow. Its arm was held tightly by vines inside the hollow. Meanwhile, Leuchtron gently slipped out. Looks like this moving skeleton form can be pretty handy sometimes. Because of his size, slipping through tight spaces is quite easy. "Little rabbit, I'm here." Leuchtron sat proudly on a branch and said, "Do you like the gift I prepared for you? This dry tree is full of tangled vines inside. Once you get wrapped up in them, it's very hard to get free." The Rabbit King struggled constantly, but Leuchtron knew that the more it struggled, the tighter the vines wrapped. It can only escape by destroying the whole tree. But how could Leuchtron give it that chance? He firmly gripped his blade and leapt down from the branch. Each strike pierced the boss's eye, dealing 100 damage. The eye truly was the opponent's critical weakness. The Rabbit King was left with just over half a health bar, but the problem was this attack drove it into a rage. The Rabbit King's defense speed was reduced by 50%, but its attack power increased by 50%. Still, Leuchtron wasn't very scared. Facing a blinded enemy whose speed and defense were reduced, no matter how strong its attack was, what could it do? Although his reaction was delayed by 0.9 seconds, he could still maintain control in this situation. Finally, Leuchtron successfully defeated the big-eared Rabbit King. He directly leveled up to level 4 and received the boss drop reward, a chest armor that increases 20 health points and 9 defense points. Along with that was a great magic stone. If traded with merchants, it could be exchanged for a certain amount of gold. Leuchtron quickly put on the armor, partially covering his all-bone body. The boss reward only contained 2 items, but the level-up reward also included 10 free attribute points. Leuchtron could use them to increase 4 of his attributes: health, mana, strength, and speed. His health points just got a 20-point boost from the armor, so it wasn't urgent. He was momentarily undecided on how to distribute the 10 points. While Leuchtron was still confused, he suddenly heard a loud shout. From high up in the tree, he looked down and saw 2 players running frantically as if being chased by ghosts. And these 2 looked somewhat familiar. They seemed to be the 2 guys Night is a bit cold and Night is a little lonely he had met earlier. But why were they here? Leuchtron jumped down from the tall tree. As soon as he appeared, the Night duo groaned. First Green Bean, then Tulin, now Quanglong. Heaven seems to want to destroy us. It seemed they were being chased by someone. Fortunately, Leuchtron has no hostile intentions toward these 2. He even helped them block arrows from the enemy. "You 2 go ahead, leave this spot to me." Tron shooed the two young men away like chasing off evil spirits. Actually, that's not quite right. He was worried about their lives. It's just that Tron was quite interested in the pursuer, an archer. From the arrows just shot, you can see his shooting speed is very fast, but his trajectory is somewhat simple. With Tron's reaction speed, now those arrows basically couldn't hit him. The opponent is a level 7 archer in the game Tu Hua Dung from the Mad Dragon Guild. This guy looks impressive, but his ID sounds pretty girly. The bow in Tu Hua Dung's hands kept drawing tighter and tighter. It seemed he was very angry because Tron could dodge all his attacks. A worthless level 5 skull acting like a savior. Tu Hua Dung cursed while launching his deadly skill called Whirlwind Fire Arrow. Although this was his strongest move, it still didn't trouble Tron. After all, he was a gaming prodigy. Now he even mastered his own 0.9-second latency handling situations extremely smoothly. For that Whirlwind Fire Arrow skill, Tron didn't even bother to dodge. He confronted it head-on and countered it. Tu Hua Dung gritted his teeth and reached for another arrow to attack again, but he didn't know how Tron suddenly appeared right behind him in the blink of an eye. Then the opponent was right behind his back. What happened next was obvious without thinking. Tron was even polite enough to say goodbye. Then he swung his sword and sent Tu Hua Dung back to the respawn point. After all, archers are long-range attackers. They've always been fragile glass cannons. Close combat like this usually can't withstand a single hit. After sending Tu Hua Dung off to go sell salt, the ground beneath Tron suddenly shook violently. The birds in the forest were scared and flew off in all directions. What's this? Such a big commotion, it can't be new players fighting, can it? The shaking grew more intense. Tron guessed that the people in the guild along with Long were clearing the surrounding area to trap the boss. That's why Tu Hua Dung was chasing after the two brothers earlier. Unfortunately, he failed and let one fish slip through the net Tron right here. Out of curiosity, Tron ventured deep into the Divine Light Forest. Sure enough, there was a fight going on. On one side was a level 15 green cockroach king already half health down. On the other side were newbies led by a guy named Long Han Thien Ha, a level 9 knight. Though he was leading, Long Han Thien Ha wasn't directly fighting himself. Instead, he used money to overwhelm the monsters. He promised that anyone who dealt even a drop of damage to the boss would be rewarded 50 coins. This level of generosity from Long Han Thien Ha left Tron's mouth wide open in amazement. 50 coins per drop of blood. The remaining 200 drops of the Green Cockroach King's health equaled 60,000 coins. Spending that much just to deal with an F-rank boss. Is this rich guy crazy? None of these newbies here aren't slaves to money. They shouted slogans like "Charge for Long" and "Charge for the Mad Dragon Guild." But really, that high spirit was just for the money. Although the Green Cockroach King was only an F-rank boss, he was still no easy opponent for newbies. The casualty rate was getting worse by the minute. Compared to the big-eared Rabbit King, Tron just defeated, this monster seemed even more terrifying. He felt the few remaining Mad Dragon Guild members would struggle to resist until the end. But Long Han Thien Ha didn't seem to realize that. Even as casualties grew, he still demanded his members not to stop attacking. Remember to coordinate together to lure the boss into attacking positions. While it's focusing its attack strike back. Use the boss's freeze skill window to hit once, then retreat. Don't stop. The more Tron listened, the more annoying it sounded. What Long Han Thien Ha just said is too obvious. Even a newbie just starting the game could come up with that. So how can that be called a command strategy at all? The important thing is attacking so mindlessly like this only causes more serious damage to our own side. Something so simple, could the rich kid really not figure that out? Yeah. Tron felt it was a bit unreasonable. He leaned toward the idea that Long Han Thien Ha wanted to use other people's lives to slowly chip away at the boss's health. Plus, a bunch of numbers started popping into Tron's head. Each person who dies is compensated 300 coins. If their rank drops, they get an extra 500 coins as compensation. The guild with Long here has 50 people. If they all get sent back to the respawn point and drop ranks, that's a total of 40,000 coins. Adding the bonus for damaging the boss, Long Han Thien Ha would have to spend a total of 100,000 coins. 100,000 coins for an F-rank boss. Is that really worth it? With the curiosity of a busybody, Tron kept to a corner, carefully observing the battle. With Long Han Thien Ha's pile-on strategy, the Green Cockroach King's health did decrease, though quite slowly. A squad of archers standing on the outer ring began attacking simultaneously. After this attack, they took a good chunk of the boss's health. Long Han Thien Ha beamed with joy. The archer squad shoots really well. When the boss has just a little health left, stop attacking so I can finish him off. Luke smirked, wondering how this guy was already close to level 10 at the early stage of the game. It seemed that until now he had been using money to buy chances to finish off bosses like this. But the lowest health phase of a boss is always the hardest. As expected, the Green Cockroach King entered a rage state. It grew 6 arms. Its attack power and speed increased by 100%. Defense also increased by 50%. The situation looked unfavorable for the Kuang Long Guild, but the suicide troopers bribed by money kept rushing forward relentlessly. They all wanted to further chip away at the boss's health. In return, they would get a bit more money themselves. Longhand Tianha timed it perfectly. When the Green Cockroach King's health bar was down to 1 dot, he made his move. But this rich guy never dreamed he would be robbed of the boss's kill by a complete stranger. Just as his weapon was about to strike the Green Cockroach, King Luke Tron knocked it away. He hadn't just been standing there idly. With his rich experience and superior talent, Luke Tron successfully prevented him from stealing the boss's kill. Longhand Tianha's face went pale and then flushed red. He was so angry the veins on his forehead twitched non-stop. "Who are you?" Longhand Tianha hissed each word. "Me, I'm just an ordinary passerby," Luke Tron replied coolly with a tone full of disdain. "Just now I passed by and saw many players being driven away by Long's guild members, so I wanted to stand up for them and seek justice. Now that you're stepping in, isn't your goal just to compete for the chance to kill the boss yourself?" Longhand Tianha sneered. "I'm just trying to cleanse the game environment." Luke Tron wasn't the least bit ashamed, but a few words back and forth were enough. How could Longhand Tianha let go of someone who touched his stuff, especially something he spent so much money collecting? Long started attacking from one side while the Green Cockroach King writhed, using its last strength on the other. Luke Tron was caught in a pincer attack, but remained calm. To him, whether it was Longhand Tianha or the boss, they were both as good as dead, and their struggling just made them expire sooner. Luke Tron took just a second to stab Longhand Tianha through the chest, sending him back to the respawn point. "Go home and practice your skills more, rich kid. Money alone won't get you anywhere." Before Longhand Tianha completely disappeared, Luke Tron even kindly gave him a reminder as a senior in the trade. Luke Tron knew that with Longhand Tianha's personality, he would definitely bring a crew to get back at him after respawning, so he had to speed up the boss kill. Just as the rage state of the Green Cockroach King ended, its speed decreased by 150%, defense dropped by 100%, and attack power reduced by 200%. Luke Tron only needed one basic attack to defeat the opponent. Although his eye sockets were empty, Luke Tron's eyes now seemed to glow. He was eager to see the loot from the boss, but what awaited him was a bright red warning from the system. Luke Tron's health was far below the limit, forcing him to exit the game. Fortunately, the system was merciful and automatically saved the experience and equipment Luke Tron gained after defeating the boss. So Luke Tron logged out of Tiantong feeling very reluctant. Just as he took off his gaming headset, there was a rapid knocking at the door outside. Luke Tron thought it might be a thief or something, so he grabbed a baseball bat and opened the door. But it was actually Do Thap Tam, who looked very panicked. "What are you doing here at this hour?" Luke Tron asked in confusion. "Of course I'm worried about you," Do Thap Tam said breathlessly, seemingly having run all the way here at full speed. "Earlier he sent you messages, but you didn't reply, and you didn't answer when I called either." "You really—" Do Thap Tam hadn't finished his sentence before looking up and getting terrified by Luke Tron's current appearance. He screamed and fell backward. "Oh my God, there's a zombie!" Seeing Luke Tron's blank expression, Do Thap Tam pulled out his phone so Luke Tron could see his own current condition. Even Luke Tron was stunned and shocked to find numerous blotchy spots on his face, as if his skin were being eaten away, and these marks were even moving. Such cloud-like rashes only appear on corpses, and these rashes were quickly changing and spreading down from his eye sockets. Do Thap Tam seriously said, "It's only 2 a.m., don't mess around like this. It's probably just some kind of skin allergy." Do Thap Tam wasn't joking. The symptoms on Luke Tron's body matched exactly with the forensic medical records at his home. Luke Tron, with a headache, exhaustion, and confusion over the blotchy marks on his body, quickly fainted. Do Thap Tam carried him to the emergency room at People's Hospital No. 4, where the head of the department, Du Trung Kan, was his father. After examination, Dr. Do confirmed that the marks on Luke Tran's body were indeed corpse rashes. In his entire medical career, he had never encountered a living patient with this condition. Du Trung Kang urgently ordered the nurse to take Luke Tran's blood sample and run many additional tests. After analyzing the blood sample, he was even more troubled because there was a large virus in Luke Tran's blood that surpassed current scientific knowledge. Strangely, the virus not only attacked healthy cells in Luke Tran's body, but was also trying to repair damaged cells. However, Luke Tron had too many damaged cells, which caused his blood circulation to slow down. The severely ischemic areas in his body were the root cause of the corpse rash appearing all over him. But those corpse rashes were not the most serious problem. If Luke Tron's blood circulation continued to slow, it could stop completely, and everyone could guess the result: he would be dead. Seeing Luke Tron's despair, Du Trung-kan hurried to comfort him. Don't lose hope. Modern medicine is very advanced. I believe there will be a solution. The plasma exchange therapy is ready. First, let's check if this virus affects any other parts of your body. Yes, thank you, sir. Do no need to be so formal with me. By the way, little Luke, have you encountered anything strange these past few days? Luke Trun was silent for a few seconds, pondering Do Trung-kan's question. He had indeed experienced some strange things, but they were all very vague, so he ultimately decided not to mention them. He entered the plasma exchange therapy room and began the procedure. Outside, Thap Tam's mood was burning with anxiety. Dad, when you asked just now, were you suspecting that old Luke was hiding something? Du Trung-kan shook his head. Actually, he just wanted to confirm a little because it was very likely that Luke Tron himself didn't remember what had happened to him. That was the brain's protective mechanism. In other words, Luke Tron had post-traumatic stress disorder and had forced himself to forget some past events. But looking at Luke Tron's current circulation rate, Du Trung-kan is certain that he must have suffered a severe trauma before even once near death. Luke Tron's current condition is not good at all. Du Trung-kan urged his son to quickly inform Luke Tron's family. Witnessing his best friend in such a life-or-death state, Du Thap Tam felt extremely upset. Meanwhile, the purpura spots on Luke Tron's face were gradually disappearing. Suddenly, in a daze, he also felt a warm energy enveloping his body. When the CT scan was finished, Do Trung-kan told his son to quickly push Luke Tron to another scanning room while he went to get the films. But as soon as he entered, Do Thap Tam couldn't help but scream in surprise because all the purpura spots on Luke Tron's body had completely vanished. Du Trung-kan was astonished. After living more than half his life, this was the first time he had witnessed such an unscientific phenomenon. Little Luke, how are you feeling now? The Luke Tron honestly recounted that while being scanned earlier, he suddenly felt a warm current inside his body, and then the headache was gone. Now he didn't feel any discomfort at all. Du Can Trung found it harder and harder to believe. He held Luke Tron's face, continuously shaking it left and right to check. This is just too unreal. Your face looks completely normal now, your hands too, and your pupils are normal as well. Could it really be that after just one CT scan, all the purpura spots disappeared? To Dukan Trung, Luke Tron looked like a rare exotic animal that had escaped its cage. Although it was late at night, he was so excited that he insisted on dragging him to the laboratory. So Luke Tron had to stay in Dukan Trung's lab for another 3 hours. When he came out, his face was pale, and he was so weak he had to be supported by Do Thap Tam. Earlier, Do Can Trung almost dissected his body for research, and Luke Tron's weakness was because he had taken as much as 800 cc of blood for experiments. After struggling for 3 hours, Do Can Trung confirmed that X-rays have the effect of suppressing the virus. That's why Luke Tron's purpura disappeared after the CT scan. The mood of the Du father and son improved a bit, because now, as long as they find the right wavelength of X-rays for treatment, Luke Tron can definitely recover. The clock struck 6 a.m. Du Thap Tam helped Luke Tron to the sofa to rest while he went to buy breakfast. Luke Tron was too tired to answer. Looking at his soft, smooth hand that seemed uninjured, he felt very puzzled. Du Can Trung said he had suffered serious injuries before, so why didn't he have any impression of it? Not long after, Du Thap Tam came back with a bag of breakfast. He also brought a story he overheard. Old Luke has a beautiful woman driving a sports car, arguing with the security guard right in front of the building gate. That beauty even has a sports headband looking fierce as if she's here to catch a mistress. Should we go down and check out the commotion? Hearing the words beautiful woman and headband and sports car, Luke Tron's head started pounding like a hammer again. Du Thap Tam, did you manage to take a photo? Du Thap Tam loved gossip, so he actually took a picture. After seeing the photo, Luke Tron's head spun again because it was the guild leader at Tui Nyat Phuong. The chaotic and fragmented memories in his mind gradually became clear, then pieced back together. Luke Tron finally remembered everything. Last night, after his first date with Tui Nyat Phuong, he actually died. The great beauty Du Thap Tam photographed was Tui Nyat Phuong, whose real name is Hang A. The moment Luke Tron recalled everything was also when Hang A chased over and knocked on the door violently. Du Thap Tam was so shocked he dropped his phone. Though he didn't understand what was going on, he felt Hang A's tone was not very friendly. All right, if you two already know each other, I'll go open the door. You two can talk directly and see what happens. Saying that, Du Thap Tam stood up and walked towards the door. Luke Tron immediately panicked. Du Thap Tam, wait, don't open the door, Luke Tron said as he called after Du Thap Tam, ended up collapsing flat on the ground. His whole body was still trembling after the incident where Do Kan Trung drained 800 cc of his blood. "I have something to tell you." Luke Tran's voice was so soft and weak that Do Tup Tam couldn't even hear it. Outside, Hong A was still frantically banging on the door, screaming loudly, making Do Tup Tam extremely anxious. Just as he grabbed the door handle, Hong A aggressively charged inside. "Luke Tran! Luke Tran!" Hong A's eyes darted everywhere, searching for any sign of Luke Tran. Do Tup Tam pretended to be clueless and said she had the wrong room and that he didn't know who Luke Tran was. But Hong A wasn't someone easily fooled, especially since she had just heard Luke Tran's voice from inside. Despite Do Tup Tam trying to stop her, she continued to rush around, searching for her beloved. Finally, Hong A charged straight into the bedroom. Luke Tran was hiding behind the wardrobe. "This room is doomed," he thought silently. "Thap Tam, oh Thap Tam. Didn't I tell you to find a way to make her leave on her own? Why did you let her wander right into the bedroom?" Hong A was getting closer and closer to the wardrobe door, continuously blaming why Luke Tran was avoiding her. Luke Tran didn't even dare to breathe heavily. But when Hong A's hand reached for the wardrobe handle, Do Tup Tam suddenly shouted, "Luke Tran is dead!" Hong A's hand froze, then started trembling. "No way, no way. Luke Tran can't possibly be dead like that. You must be lying to me 100%. If you don't believe me, you can go to People's Hospital number 4 and check the autopsy report," Do Tup Tam said firmly. This method worked. Hong A trembled for a long while and then burst into tears. Then she scolded Luke Tran as a lying scoundrel while running out. Only after her figure disappeared did Do Tup Tam dare to open the wardrobe. Luke Tran was sitting curled up inside. He looked dazed to the point of stupidity. "When I was at the hospital, I naively thought that just using X-ray treatment would restore my body to normal. But after the memory lock was broken, I'm not even sure if I'm still alive now." Luke Tran's voice was extremely mournful, and what he said only made Do Tup Tam more confused. "Hearing you say that makes me even more uncertain. What exactly happened to you last night? You weren't clear about it earlier either." Luke Tran took a deep breath. Then he recounted what happened yesterday. It sounded a bit far-fetched, but he was buried alive. Do Tup Tam was already horrified by this. It turned out that the afternoon before, Luke Tran had accepted an invitation to meet Hong A. At first, he thought it was just a normal online friend meeting, but unexpectedly, she was also the vice president of GGS Asia region. Hong A had used Luke Tran's equipment from the Lindong game before. She exchanged it for 200,000 yuan, then invited him to join the work group she had just established. At the same time, Hong A confessed her feelings for Luke Tran all along, but he kept rejecting her. Do Tup Tam felt very sorry hearing this because rejecting someone as talented, beautiful, and rich as Hong A is something few could do. But Luke Tran had his reasons for refusing. With his current sickly state and delayed reflexes, being together would only become a burden for Hong A. He didn't want someone like her to waste time on a useless person like him. However, on the way back when Hong A was taking Luke Tran home, something happened. Hong A's competitor for the GGS Asia president role, seeing no chance of winning, set a trap halfway to confront her. An overwhelmingly large group of opposing fans, each equipped with weapons. Luke Tran and Hong A were in a very desperate situation. In that emergency to save himself, he ignited the gas tank, causing a big explosion. But the explosion only delayed things for a short while. Hong A also fainted from the strong shock. Coincidentally, a garbage truck passed by at that moment. Although it smelled bad, Luke Tran had no choice but to throw Hong A onto it to escape the danger. The hunting trip of those people ended in failure, so they took out all their frustration on Luke Tran. At this point, he was already exhausted and outnumbered, so he couldn't escape the tragic fate of being strangled until he lost his breath. After venting, those villains thought Luke Tran was dead, so they dragged him to a mass grave north of the city. Just like that barely clinging to life, Luke Tran was buried alive by them. When Do Tup Tam heard the words, mass grave, his face turned pale. It seemed this wasn't the first time those people had committed such a crime. Back to the main issue. That day, Luke Tran hadn't been completely doomed, because right after those bastards left, a heavy rain poured down, softening the mud that buried him. The heavy rain made the earth soft. At this point, he had lost consciousness, but crawled up from the ground like a zombie. He didn't even know how he managed to move. He only felt the pain in his body gradually fade away. When he regained consciousness, he vaguely stood in front of his house. The key point was that aside from his clothes being torn to shreds, there wasn't a single wound on his body. Only his head hurt occasionally. Do Tup Tam felt that the large virus his father discovered in Luke Tran earlier was probably contracted when he was buried. After all, it did help restore his body. But this was really hard to believe. Still, what Do Kan Trung said was accurate. Luke Tran had gone through a huge trauma. He was basically clinically dead, so his brain automatically blocked some memories to protect him. After recalling this, Luke Tron's emotions were extremely complicated. Tam, tell me, am I still considered alive now? Tam couldn't give Luke Tran an answer for the time being. He only knew that all the mysteries were buried in that mass grave north of the city, and this compelled Tam to go there. Luke Tran also wanted to come, but with his current condition, even standing up was difficult. More importantly, Tam didn't go to the grave immediately, but had to visit People's Hospital number 4 first. Earlier, Do Kan Trung asked him to bring Luke Tron's gaming headset for study. After breakfast, Tam carried the gaming headset to his father's expert meeting room. As soon as he entered, he froze for a few seconds because the room wasn't just Do Kan Trung's, but also had several old men with gray hair. All were big shots in the industry. While Do Tam went out, Luke Tron quietly sat calculating what he had to do before he died. This included finding someone to keep his father company and leaving him retirement money, helping Hang-e rebuild Ko Kim Mung-han, then leaving a proper farewell letter. Not long after, Do Tam returned. Hearing his voice, Luke Tron quickly hid the plan. Do Tam carried big and small bags like he was running away from home. And in fact, he really was running away from home. Without Luke Tran's consent, he declared he would move in with him from now on. But I only have one bed, Luke Tran said, confused, arms crossed. Do Tam said, no problem, your sofa is enough for me to lie on. Luke Tran felt a little headache. Judging by Do Tam's expression, he guessed with 9 out of 10 certainty that his health was at a stage where he needed someone to take care of him. I'm just bored being home alone thinking random stuff. As for you, you're not getting better that fast. Saying that, Do Tam pulled out a health analysis report of Luke Tran. It stated that his physical condition was very good. Do Tam said he initially didn't believe it, but this report was the result of many experiments by old professors, so he reluctantly trusted it a bit. Actually, Do Kan Trung didn't want to reveal Luke Tran's illness, but the virus gene sequence in his body was too much. He could only ask others for help, those old gray-haired doctors Do Tam saw in the meeting room. Then more people came older and older, higher and higher in rank. Eventually, they gathered into a group of highly academic veterans. This clearly isn't an ordinary meeting, but a medical showdown. And these old professors are all very influential. They just need to make one phone call, and that mass grave north of the city instantly becomes a military-restricted zone. Do Tam doesn't even need to waste effort going there anymore. After half a day, all the secrets in that grave were dug up. Underneath that dumping ground was originally a mass grave from the late Han Dynasty. According to Do Tam, that place might be related to Guan Yu. It sounds unrelated, but indeed, in the fragmented memories of Luke Tran, there is an image of this legendary figure. The more mysterious thing is that a fluid was leaking from outside the tomb. Inside it, they discovered a type of viral protoform. It has the same genetic code as the virus currently running in Luke Tran's body. Truly a shocking discovery that Luke Tran is infected with a virus from 1,000 years ago. Because he was the first person infected with this virus, the doctors named it after him. While Do Tam began packing up his things, Luke Tran kept studying that report very carefully. He noticed that the virus's characteristics section had only a brief introduction, no detailed content. That's understandable. The report was written in just half a day. Even if the meeting was full of top experts, it would be hard to fully research the virus's traits so quickly. But they could confirm one trait: it has an extremely high recovery capability. The proof is, it repaired Luke Tran's damaged cells and strengthened his body to an unexpected level. But what bothered Luke Tran most was that none of the elders were interested in his body at all. My dad told me there was actually some debate at that time. Most wanted to put Luke Tran in a lab for 24-hour observation, but some leaders argued they had to respect his opinion. Do Tam explained. Later, the top doctors also found the viral protoform was more valuable for research, so Luke Tran's importance was downgraded. Now he's only considered a reference subject for the viral protoform. When Do Tam said this, Luke Tran finally breathed a sigh of relief. His biggest fear was becoming a guinea pig. Du Kan Trung had already taken 800 cc of his blood and tortured him for hours. Now, with over 10 professors, if they all acted like that, Luke Tran wouldn't survive. I didn't expect this virus has helped me 3 times. Luke Tran muttered 3 times. Huh. Only twice, right? Do Tam asked curiously. The cell recovery that brought me back from the brink of death is 1. The viral protoform helping me avoid being a guinea pig for the professors is 2. And finally reducing my delayed reflex to just 0.9 seconds. The last thing was the first time Do Tam had heard since Luke Tran's accident. He was so excited he immediately grabbed Luke Tran's gaming headset. He told him to quickly get into the game and try it out. It was also to test if the X-ray system installed by Do Kan Trung worked. That's when Luke Tran noticed something different in his gaming device. Du Thap Tam proudly said it was his father's important invention. He installed a device system that emits X-rays to suppress the virus's development. That way, Luke Tran wouldn't have to go to the hospital for daily radiation treatments anymore. Besides the upgraded headset, Du Thap Tam also brought back a device called the Life Monitoring Bracelet. It can track Luke Tran's health data and directly send it to the hospital anytime for research purposes. But he still needs to go to the hospital once a week for a full checkup as a reference. Before Du Thap Tam could finish saying, just that Luke Tran hastily interrupted. Because the bracelet he just put on was emitting blinding red lights. At the same time, Luke Tran was jolted by an electric shock that made his whole body tremble. Seeing that Du Thap Tam was scared out of his wits. Oh my God, what is happening? And so the ambulance had to show up again at Luke Tran's house lobby. Du Cantrung also came to the spot. After some adjustments, the red lines and the electric shock phenomenon disappeared. The reason that happened earlier was because Du Thap Tam hastily put on the bracelet without following the basic rule of adjusting the settings first. So now he is feeling very guilty. Uncle today 13 has worked hard. It's understandable to forget a few things, Luke Tran said to comfort him. However, Du Cantrung did not really trust his precious son very much. Since he was here anyway, he took it upon himself to educate Luke Tran about this bracelet. It can regularly monitor Luke Tran's health condition. When the bracelet turns black with no lines showing, that means the status is normal. But when red lines appear on the bracelet, it indicates Luke Tran's cardiovascular system is having problems, and it will emit electric shocks like before to restore the cardiovascular system. If the bracelet shows a sky blue color, it means Luke Tran is having lung issues, and it can also self-correct that by injecting into the glands on his shoulders. Finally, if green lines appear, that means there is a blood circulation problem. Luke Tran's health is unusual due to the presence of a virus. Earlier, Du Thap Tam didn't adjust the parameters and just put the bracelet directly on his wrist, so the red lines appeared immediately, and Luke Tran got shocked. Du Cantrung also advised him not to worry too much, because once the bracelet sends a signal as long as he is within this city, Du Cantrung can rush here within half an hour. So if you want to leave the city, you have to notify us in advance. This is just for your safety. Hope you can understand. Du Cantrung warned him, but Luke Tran knew this was not just a reminder, it was a requirement. He is now a special research subject. It's understandable that his movement is limited within the city. After the two sides finished their agreement, Du Cantrung returned to the hospital. Luke Tran then started to study the gaming headset. Hey, old Luke, is your game ID still the same? Let me log in and add you as a friend. Changed it, how about you? Luke Tran revealed his new in-game name to Du Thap Tam, who had also changed to an even cooler name, Chuang the Ultimate Master. Luke Tran was silent for a few seconds, then gave a thumbs up. Nice name. His attitude annoyed Du Thap Tam. What do you mean am I not worthy of that name? Of course you are. Hurry up and set up the server. When you're online, take me flying Ultimate Master. Everyone knows Du Thap Tam has always been a bad gamer. Luke Tran teased him a bit on the surface, but secretly promised himself to recover soon and make him a true Ultimate Master worthy of the name. Since last night, quite some time has been wasted with gaming. At this early stage, those 10+ hours are very precious. Luke Tran quickly logged into the game. When the headset powered up, the X-ray system also activated. He felt that warm, pleasant sensation envelop his entire body again. Once again, this feeling was very comfortable and soothing. When he logged into Thien Tung, the system automatically placed him back at the coordinates where the connection was lost in the Blue Cockroach King's cave in the Than Quang forest. Now Luke Tran had time to check the equipment he received. It was a sword called Tung Lam 6 Hue Ring. Luke Tran was eager to test the power of this new weapon. With the sword in his hand, he swung it and instantly split a large tree in half. Such a sharp weapon, he wondered how effective it would be against monsters, as he thought that a monster approached him on its own. Wasn't Luke Tran in the Blue Cockroach Cave? Although the Blue Cockroach King had been defeated, many of the monsters it ruled were still there. They were all level 7 or 8 blue cockroaches. These opponents were just right for Luke Tran. With the new weapon in hand, he launched a flurry of slashes. Wherever Luke Tran slashed, blue cockroaches died. The feeling of mastering the battle was truly satisfying. But I'm in a hurry, all of you come at me at once. Seeing the blue cockroaches weren't too strong, Luke Tran said arrogantly. But you wouldn't expect these monsters to understand human language. They just charged straight at him. Still, even so, the difficulty only increased slightly. It was completely impossible to break the fact that he was the one controlling the situation. Luke Tran fought more fiercely. Before long, he wiped out the entire blue ant nest. Although still a bit weaker than before, this young man still felt he was super cool and handsome just now. Trich kick tram! Sa, a loud voice echoed. Luke Tran thought Du Thap Tam had come looking for him. Or at worst, Long Han Thien Ha was coming to settle the score. But when he turned around, he saw a strange guy. The system reminded him this was the Soul Judge, one of the most powerful spirits in hell. He came to the human world through a contract. His current strength was still unknown. For some reason, Luke Tran felt a little tense. This guy probably didn't come to cause trouble for him, right? After confirming the identity of the player, Trich Kick Tram saw the Soul Judge began to issue a verdict. Luke Tran didn't know what he intended, but then the Soul Judge just threw a warrant book into his hands. It was a wanted order for Trich Kick Tram Saw, valued at 250 gold coins. This thing was called Soul Spirit Bounty, basically a way to hunt down other players in the game. And this wanted order was issued by Long Han Thien Ha. Any player who successfully kills Luke Tran, causing him to lose a level, will receive a reward from him. 250 gold coins is not a small price. 1 gold coin equals 100 successful kills. So that's 25,000 right there. Clearly that bastard wanted to use money to kick him out of the game, even though Luke Tran was the one who provoked him first. But this still made him extremely angry. Luke Tran tore the warrant book in his hand to pieces. Long Han Thien Ha, just wait and see who gets kicked out of the game first in the end. Putting that aside, after wiping out the blue cockroach nest and defeating the boss earlier, Luke Tran completed the main blue cockroach mission. He was promoted to level 10, qualifying for a job advancement. Now he just needed to return to the newbie village Chaos Corp to receive the job advancement letter. Then go to Hanbang Kwang to complete the job advancement. Luke Tran was so happy he jumped around. Finally, he could advance his job. Soon after, Duthap Tam, an in-game peerless expert, sent a friend request to Luke Tran. As soon as he accepted, he saw Duthap Tam nervously sending a message. Of course, the message asked who Luke Tran had made enemies with to get a 250 gold coin bounty. Old Luke, you still haven't advanced your job yet. Not ready yet. Duthap Tam sighed heavily. No wonder there was a group of players who had already advanced their jobs watching Luke Tran like a meal. They were preparing to rush in and kill him. Luke Tran knew many would target him after that wanted order, but he didn't expect someone to so quickly gather a whole team to ambush him. Quick, check the community chat channel! Duthap Tam shouted. Luke Tran had never paid attention to those before, but since Duthap Tam said so, he reluctantly glanced over. Sure enough, the chat channel was exploding. Everyone saw him as the target. There were even many teams formed just to hunt him down. Duthap Tam seemed very worried, but Luke Tran himself appeared quite calm in this situation. He was calm for a good reason, because as painful as it sounded, who else in this world understood the feeling of being hunted better than Luke Tran? For the final year in Lingdong, he managed to survive despite being hunted by the entire gaming community. Yeah, I've never asked you before, how did you manage to survive that last year online? Duthap Tam asked. Mentioning this made Luke Tran feel bitter. That whole year he spread fake news, faked his death, and disguised himself as a wild beast. He even pretended to be a roadside rock and used a fake name to sneak into enemy camps. Finally, he stayed inside the boss's group for half a month. Basically, you've done everything just to survive. Back then, Luke Tran was given the nickname the Great Master of Running Away by his comrades. Unexpectedly, just after playing Thien Tung for a day, that Great Master of Running Away had to return to the martial world to face those who were hunting him. Luke Tran had already figured out a plan. First, he took a photo of himself. Then he sent it to Duthap Tam. Next, he asked him to spread the photo around, saying that Luke Tran was in the Thon Quang Pham K forest. He wanted to lure those players to the forest, while he took the opportunity to change his rank. Well done, old Luke. Duthap Tam couldn't help but praise. Too kind, too kind. It's just a basic trick of the Great Master of Running Away. After finishing the plan, Luke Tran used plants to camouflage his whole body and slipped away. Soon after, Duthap Tam did exactly as instructed, skillfully spreading the photo on the World Channel. Sure enough, the foolish players all fell for it and rushed to the Than Quang forest, chasing the money, not knowing the person they were looking for was just a rock by the roadside they had just passed. Luke Tran had already returned to Tan Thu village to get a transfer certificate for the village chief position. He was instructed to go to Hanbang Kwang to find the spirit swordmaster to Luan and give him the certificate personally written by him. Then Luke Tran could become to Luan's disciple, so he ran with all his might. Once he reached Hanbang Kwang for the transfer, he would be fine, because that was the territory of the Night Spirit Battle Camp. Normal players on the righteous side would automatically be marked as enemies by NPCs when entering the camp. Actually, Luke Tran still had a bad feeling because Hanbang Kwang was the only transfer location of the Night Spirit. So his intuition told him that Long Han Thien Ha must have sent troops there to ambush. However, Luke Tran couldn't hide forever, especially since transferring was something he had to do. Even if the enemy was right in front of him, he had to charge forward. Luke Tran ran across a large mountain valley. Beyond here was Han Bang Kwong. He found the highest spot to observe how many enemies were outside Han Bang Kwong. If there were few, he could confront them directly. If there were many, he would have to use the East Distract West tactic and sneak inside during the chaos to transfer. As Luke Tran predicted, outside Han Bang Kwong were a few ambushers acting as lookouts. A level 12 female archer accompanied by a level 15 knight, a level 13 warrior, and a level 14 shield warrior. They all felt Long Han Thien Ha was extremely cautious to send 4 people to deal with a kid who hadn't even transferred yet. "Everyone get ready," the female archer suddenly said. "After waiting so long, it's finally here." Following her direction at the end of the road, Luke Tran slowly appeared. Seeing only 4 opponents, he breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, it wasn't a large group. Otherwise, it would be harder to handle. "We just met and you're already shouting to fight. Can't we sit down and discuss first?" Luke Tran spoke, but he was really just buying time to find the right distance to strike. As expected, the 4 didn't listen to him. That was understandable since they were members of the Mad Dragon Guild. Earlier, Luke Tran had stolen a boss and tormented their guild leader, so there was no way they would sit down and negotiate now. They even thought Luke Tran was scared and trying to make peace smoothly, so they despised him even more. "Heh, Mad Dragon Guild, you have money but such rude manners. I'm just a little skull. Being scared isn't shameful at all," Luke Tran retorted. "But big brothers, could you please go easy and ignore me like I'm invisible?" Saying that, he stepped forward a few steps. The distance between Luke Tran and the opponents was now 10 meters. Just 2 more meters and he'd be in attack range. The level 12 archer was still drawing her bow, ready to strike. The others were also in attack-ready stance. Letting you enter Han Bang Kwong just to watch you switch positions. We're not that stupid. If Long Thew orders to meet Cheek Kitch Tram Sa, we'll just kill him on the spot. But your attitude isn't bad at all. I might consider only beating you back to the respawn point once. Big brother leveling up isn't easy for us either. Why make things difficult for each other? Luke Tran kept stalling. He spoke while moving forward. At this point, he was only about 3 meters from them and stopped standing still. Luke Tran put on a look of awkwardness, constantly blaming himself for offending the wrong people. It was all just to make the opponent let their guard down a little. Unexpectedly, they took it seriously and then got excited, boasting about their guild reaching the sky. They even dared to compare their tiny super guild with the Trukan Lone Guild. When Luke Tran heard that he couldn't hold back his laughter, he burst out laughing heartily. "Ha ha. You guys think you can stand shoulder to shoulder with Trukan Lone. What a bunch of damn fools you dare mock the Kwang Long Guild." Pathetic Luke Tran didn't want to continue this meaningless conversation anymore. After all, he had already closed into the distance he wanted. For these inexperienced kids, Luke Tran really didn't want to say much more. The opponents only saw a small level 10 Tu Lin like him talking arrogantly without fear. He had to fight until he knocked him down a level to satisfy them. The level 12 archer started the opening move. But even though the archer was higher level than Luke Tran, she was just paper thin. She couldn't block a single move, and Luke Tran defeated her in just 1 second. Now who's really the one to be laughed at? Yet they placed the archer at the front line. Your weak team spirit makes me burst out laughing. And just because of 2 words from the enemy, you blindly walk right up to them. Are you mentally handicapped? Luke Tran's words were dripping with mockery. The opponents started to panic, but they had to rally themselves, reassuring each other that with 3 people against Luke Tran, they were more than enough. The knight quickly ordered to scatter the formation, to attack the opponent from 3 directions, but Luke Tran remained very calm. Without the archer sneaking to harass just close combat alone, he was unbeatable. That level 13 female warrior wanted to sneak attack, but the sword hadn't even swung down before Luke Tran spotted it. All 3 charged forward to overwhelm him with sheer numbers. But Luke Tran wasn't afraid, only this time he suddenly missed his strike. This time was different from before. Luke Tran had more experience, so he quickly realized his delay had lessened. For safety first, he needed to find out how many seconds the delay had been reduced, so he kept his distance. Luke Tran was very happy inside. With the nervous system's recovery speed, now maybe in 2 days, he'd have enough strength to fight Trukan Lon. After testing, Luke Tran confirmed his delay was reduced to only 0.7 seconds. That made things even easier. The shield warrior who just missed wildly got furious and used his ultimate skill, Earth's Wrath. Unfortunately, this skill didn't threaten Luke Tran at all. In his eyes, even a level 14 shield warrior was just meat to be cut. Like the archer, he was quickly sent back to the respawn point by Luke Tran. Now only the loud-mouthed level 15 knight was left. He finally got scared and hurriedly said, "Hey, wait, can we sit down and talk this over?" Unfortunately, before he finished, Luke Tran's sword was already plunged straight into his forehead. After sending the opponent to respawn, Leuctron casually wiped his blade until it shined brightly again. He just stepped inside Hanbang Kwong. The guild members and Long were about to arrive. He had to withdraw. After he turned and walked away, the wound on that knight's forehead automatically healed itself. I don't know what method he used, but he definitely wasn't weak just now. Seeing Leuctron walk away, the guy finally stood up and breathed a sigh of relief. But before he could rejoice, Leuctron appeared behind him like a ghost from England. That sentence scared the opponent so much, he literally pissed his pants. Leuctron closed in from behind, like the true king of hell, Tula. How can you revive right here? Did you secretly stash some resurrection potion or something? No, big brother. The knight trembled in reply. Players from level 15 up can resurrect on the spot. You just happened to reach level 15. So Leuctron exclaimed, this on-the-spot resurrection thing doesn't seem to be very advantageous for you. If the opponent loots your corpse right there, it's a big problem. Looks like after reaching level 15, you have to be even more careful, big brother. Look, I've explained everything clearly. Can I go now? The knight carefully pushed Leuctron's sword away from his neck bit by bit. His bent-over posture made Leuctron feel extremely contemptuous. But this time, he also wanted to teach this arrogant guy a lesson. So he kept tapping his sword on the guy's head. Each hit only cost 1 HP, but was both painful and humiliating. Just as Leuctron was getting into it, Longhan Thian-Ha suddenly called the knight. He was very embarrassed and wanted to take advantage of Leuctron's distraction to hang up. But nothing can escape Leuctron's hawk eyes. Leuctron grabbed the knight's hand and forced him to answer the call. Hello, Long Thieu. Hai Long's voice came urgently from the other end of the line to Longhan Thian-Ha. I've received the location you sent. Try to keep him occupied, I'm getting ready to come. This time we have to kill him until he's logged out. The knight was extremely tense because Leuctron had caught him secretly sending the location to Longhan Thian-Ha. Unexpectedly, Leuctron didn't even bother with him and yelled into the call, Longhan Thian-Ha, you guys really are a bunch of worthless talkers. On the other end, Longhan Thian-Ha was so startled by Leuctron's voice that he instinctively took a step back. After all, he had been beaten back to the respawn point once before by Leuctron, so he was still somewhat afraid of this dried-up skeleton. Are you Triet Kitch Tram Saw? That's right, it's me. Your so-called Hai Long has already been dealt with by me. I'm waiting for you at Hanbang Kwong. Want to take me down, you're not worthy yet. Then Leuctron quickly slit the knight's throat as a warning. Longhan Thian-Ha was still shouting, Leuctron, don't touch my friend! But before he could finish, the call was cut off because the knight had died. Longhan Thian-Ha gritted his teeth in anger and split all his followers into two groups. One half went with him to Hanbang Kwong, the other half guarded the respawn point, aiming to trap Leuctron as soon as he was forced back there. Not long after Longhan Thian-Ha had led his people outside Hanbang Kwong, as soon as he saw the familiar torn blue cloak, he launched an attack immediately. A group of players followed him in the attack, all kinds of classes together, creating an unprecedented storm of assaults. Longhan Thian-Ha laughed heartily, sure that no matter how strong Leuctron was, a level 10 health pool couldn't withstand such heavy damage. But before he could laugh long, a bright red simulation window appeared in front of him, meaning the system had sent a red alert to Longhan Thian-Ha. Great General Long, Tu Then Vuong, and many other players actively attacked Captain Fak of the Da Lin Patrol at Hanbang Kwong. All players belonging to the human faction in the Hanbang Kwong area would be considered enemies of the Da Lin Patrol team. This announcement terrified all the players there. They had just started leveling up and already made enemies of the Dark Faction NPCs. Even Longhan Thian-Ha hadn't expected this move. While he was still filled with 1,000 questions, the blue cloak was pulled down by the opponent. Your human gall is getting bigger and bigger, daring to attack the great General Fak. When the cloak was pulled down, Longhan Thian-Ha realized it wasn't the Triet Kitch Tram Sa he wanted to fight, but the Da Lin Patrol captain himself. Clearly, it was a trap set by Leuctron, and unfortunately the rich bastard with a short brain fell right into it. Fak is a high-combat NPC of the Da Lin battle group who was marked by him as an enemy. Of course, that's not a good thing. Longhan Thian-Ha ordered his subordinates to stay calm and keep formation. But in this situation, who could possibly stay calm? As for Fak, he wasn't about to let those who attacked him for no reason get away. If you want to run, don't even dream about it. The dead rose again under Fak's command. The ground suddenly cracked open and dry skeletons emerged from the earth to grab the players' legs. Even Longhan Thian-Ha was not an exception. Facing an army of dry bones like this, it was really hard for them to handle, especially since this army was controlled by a high-ranking member of the Da Lin battle group like Fak. Long Han Tianha panicked terribly and shouted loudly to call for reinforcements. Fack felt like he was hearing a joke. He fired his weapon straight at Long Han Tianha's head. Reinforcements sure, but defeating a few like you will never calm my rage. Long Han Tianha was beaten until he was nearly blind, and his followers were suffering a massacre by the Da Lin army. Anyone who managed to escape this whole scene was seen by Luke Tron hiding on the side. You felt extremely satisfied seeing your plan to have others kill for you succeed. It was definitely worth the 10 gold spent earlier to buy 10 sets of torn clothes like mine in Tanthu village. And recalling earlier when he met Fack, Luke Tron had used all his vocabulary to flatter him to the skies, saying he was his true fan, worshipping him like a raging river. Then he used this opportunity to gift him the outfit identical to the one he just bought from the village chief. When Fack put it on, Luke Tron praised him endlessly so he would be satisfied and wouldn't take it off. That's why in the end, the blurred-eyed Long Han Tianha mistook him. After this incident, you hoped the Kuang Long Guild could stay quiet for a while, but unexpectedly, the bounty order was updated again immediately after. Whereas before, anyone who caused Luke Tran to lose levels would get 250 gold, now just killing you once, even without making you lose levels. Rewards 500 gold. Also, anyone who brings intelligence about you gets 10 gold. The bounty money increased rapidly, just like Long Han Tianha's rage. Luke Tran wasn't worried at all. The more the enemy wasted their wealth, the more chances he had to fight many masters. Moreover, these masters would become steps for him to climb back to the peak of glory one by one. After Fack dealt with Long Han Tianha's group neatly, Luke Tran finally felt safe to advance deeper into Han Bong Kong. In the end, Luke Tran found the soul sword man that the village chief mentioned. So excited he even skipped along to him. Master, I've come to find someone to transfer my role. You stinky ant, how dare you step into my territory, prepare to suffer. Indeed, the characters in the Da Lin battle group are all hot-tempered like molten lava. In the end, Luke Tran had to pull out the village chief's letter of introduction to make Tuluan's sword stop. Village chief Napwai Van is an old friend of Tuluan. If he personally introduced you, then he has no reason to refuse you. I will follow the advice of my old friend and accept you as my disciple. But boy, remember well that as a soul sword man, we must have an extremely pure body and mind, no matter what. Tuluan said. Luke Tran nodded repeatedly. I will remember well, master. Tuluan seemed very pleased, even generously, patting Luke Tran's head, completely different from the terrifying Yang Kung bat sword just now. He said before transferring roles, he needed to stimulate your talent a bit, and his hand on Luke Tran's head seemed to press down a little harder. Then Tuluan began to speak loudly. O sleeper lord of the soul, let the power of your soul illuminate everywhere. Overthrow all the rules of this world. Descendant of the soul, awaken your talent. So awakening talent in Tiantung is this spectacular. After a while, the system announced that Luke Tran had comprehended a talent called Soul Power. Soul Power Level 1 awakens the strength of the sleeping soul, increasing damage dealt to all enemies by 5%. Every time you level up, the talent effect increases by 5%. This talent can be leveled up to a maximum of level 10. By then, Luke Tran can increase his damage by 50%. This is truly an ability everyone envies. And Tuluan seems very proud to see his new student able to grasp the talent with the highest aptitude. Then he began another ritual to officially grant Luke Tran the status of Tu Lin Swordsman. After the ritual was completed, he tried checking his attribute board again. Everything had increased, and Luke Tran himself felt his body now brimming with strength. There was only one thing that made him a bit unhappy even after officially becoming a Tu Lin Swordmaster. His form was still a skull that wasn't handsome at all. Toluan patted Luke Tran's shoulder to comfort him. The path to becoming a La is long and hard. The skull is our true nature, kid. I find your bone structure quite unusual. Here are 3 skill books that can help you develop quickly. Luke Tran's eyes lit up. But before he could even thank him, Toluan took back the skill books from his hands. It turns out that even between master and disciple, these things are still very valuable. So he still had to charge Luke Tran. Each book was worth 5 silver coins. Luke Tran's heart ached deeply, tears streaming down his face. He had just taken on missions and fought bosses, struggling to save up 24 coins, and yet this new master of his immediately took 15 coins just by opening his mouth. Master, can't you give me a little discount since we're master and disciple? Stop whining, 5 coins per book is already the lowest price. Toluan, without any mercy, directly took Luke Tran's coin pouch. Then he threw the 3 skill books at him, continuously saying he was already selling at a loss. Luke Tran eagerly opened all the skill books. He received 3 new skills: Basic Swordsmanship, which increases sword damage by 5% for warrior-type fighters. Next was Corpse Looting, helping Luke Tran find more items from corpses. Finally, Slash Knife, which increases damage dealt to all targets by 10%. Leuktron calculated that basic swordsmanship and Slash Knife combined already increased damage by 15%. After the class change, wouldn't the innate talent boost that by a full 20%? Previously, when playing flexibly, Leuktron's Swordmaster skills could only increase damage to a fixed amount. But now, the Tulin Swordmaster's skills could boost the entire 100% damage amount. Based on this basic increased damage output would continue to grow over time. This class is indeed overpowered. The best way to test the new skills was to fight. Thinking this, Leuktron approached Han Tolun and asked, "Master, do you have any good missions?" Tolun, still basking in the feeling of gaining 15 gold coins, casually threw Leuktron a scroll. It was a high-level F-rank mission named Skull. The mission required him to go to the Great Graveyard and eliminate 50 low-level Skull soldiers who had taken shelter among humans and to collect 10 Skull Fingers to hand over to Tolun. Leuktron gripped the mission scroll and suddenly felt much more excited. He quickly went to the Great Graveyard. The Skull soldiers there were level 12. Before, Leuktron could still defeat them, but after the class change, his attack power had increased significantly. Leuktron only needed one strike to swiftly kill the Skull soldier. However, after he fell, a purple flame rose from the body, binding his eyes. This thing then charged straight at Leuktron. Although he didn't know what it was, he instinctively raised his sword to confront it. However, Leuktron's sword swung through the air, hitting nothing but that thing. It had no physical form. Now it was too late to dodge. Leuktron was hit squarely by the flame. The flame entered his body. Strangely, Leuktron felt no pain or burning, but rather a sense of comfort. The system notified him that he had absorbed a fire spirit soul, but his experience points did not increase. His elemental attribute also remained unchanged. Leuktron found this odd. Could it be that this thing had no effect besides a momentary pleasant feeling? He planned to log off and check the forums for information later. But for now, he wanted to see if the Skull Soldier might drop anything good. He had high hopes, so his disappointment was even greater. The Skull Soldier only dropped a piece of torn cloth of poor quality with no value or use. "Oh my God, this poor name, what a waste of my waiting." Leuktron shouted loudly, "Keep hunting, we can't have all the Skull Soldiers be this week." Not long after Leuktron had cut down 50 Skull Soldiers and collected 10 Skull Fingers. The mission was completed. You also leveled up. Now, at level 11, all that's left is to return to Han Bong Kwong to claim the reward from Toluan. A small demon stone dropped from the last soldier. Although a bit useless, it's still better than the 49 torn cloth pieces before. Leuktron sighed as he was about to head back to Han Bong Kwong when he suddenly realized he had gone too far. He had entered the Chingu area within the Great Tomb. Around him were towering tombstones. For some reason, Leuktron had a feeling that something was about to appear. Sure enough, a huge skeleton approached. It was a level 15 Chingu skull. But this one wasn't just an ordinary giant. Leuktron standing before it was like an ant facing an elephant. Seeing the size difference, he began to tremble a little. "You little skull brat! Where did you come from to dare cause trouble in our territory?" The Chingu skull spoke. Its voice echoed loudly across the area. Leuktron wasn't interested in continuing. When dealing with a monster NPC like him, Ben took the initiative to attack first, thinking the opponent was formidable. So he put all his effort into using a series of skills in this attack. Unexpectedly, the mighty and imposing Chingu skull was defeated very easily by Leuktron, to the point that he scratched his head wondering why a mini-boss like this was even easier to handle than the Skull Soldier. Understanding Leuktron's doubt, the system quickly explained that the Chingu skull was the main race in the Chingu tomb area. Although tall and large, their combat power was weak. However, they were very skilled in team battles and liked to act in groups. Leuktron only paid attention to the words, "liked to act in groups." Just as he finished reading the notification, a blazing arrow shot straight at Leuktron. He jumped to dodge while clicking his tongue, blaming himself for poking a hornet's nest. The Chingu skull he had just defeated was probably just the vanguard. The real troublemakers were the Chingu skulls attacking from behind. They attacked together from multiple sides, supporting each other quite skillfully. Their strength was indeed formidable. However, these monsters still weren't strong enough to take Leuktron's life. Seeing his strength was considerable, more Chingu skulls kept coming. Leuktron began to feel weary, even though their abilities were weaker than his. If the fight dragged on like this, he would run out of energy. So Leuktron thought of a plan. Wasn't this area surrounded by those towering tombstones? He used his sharp sword blade to slash a line on the tallest tombstone. Then he circled behind and kicked hard from the cut mark. The tombstone immediately toppled, crushing the few Chingu skulls who couldn't escape in time. Leuchtron intended to use this chaotic moment to escape, but before he could leave, he felt an immense pressure. With such overwhelming aura, the real boss had surely arrived. Sure enough, the large Chingu skulls all knelt down respectfully. The creature that just appeared lifted that tombstone with a snap of its fingers. "Who are you to dare harm my subjects?" Leuchtron swallowed nervously. Under the command of that skull boss, Leuchtron was now surrounded by the Chingu skulls. Before, Leuchtron was not a normal dry skeleton. It was the Spirit Lord Thanvu level unknown. The system also warned that Leuchtron currently couldn't defeat this enemy and needed to retreat quickly. The fact that he couldn't see the enemy's level meant it was at least 20 levels higher than him. Leuchtron wasn't foolish enough to recklessly fight. But the problem was now he was surrounded by several layers of Chingu skulls. Escaping wouldn't be so easy. The Spirit Lord Thanvu began to slowly advance. On the way, he unconsciously stepped on a withered Chingu skull, causing the skull to crack instantly. Leuchtron became even more tense. He couldn't cut through that skull with his blade, yet this guy only needed to step on it once for it to shatter. "Accept your fate, you brat, Thanvu!" His voice was cold and sharp, not joking at all. With every step he took, the ground started to crack and break apart. Leuchtron felt his mind go blank. This was some terrifying power. How on earth was he supposed to deal with such a horrific opponent now? Suddenly an idea flashed through Leuchtron's mind. He glanced around, and after a moment he firmly identified the direction back to Han Bang Kwang. Thanvu had also moved right in front of Leuchtron by this point. "Do you have any last words?" Leuchtron no longer looked fearful as before. Then he raised his middle finger mockingly and laughed. Even if the opponent was the Spirit Lord threatening someone with a broken tombstone. And he even called himself my bones. "Do you think you're the Emperor? If you're so tough, try smashing me with that tombstone." Leuchtron's attitude stunned Thanvu for a few seconds. His anger reached its peak. The Spirit Lord's right hand raised high into the air. A red light radiated from his fingertips, looking menacing as hell. "You will pay for your arrogance." As he brought his hand down the tombstone, shot toward Leuchtron. The direction it flew was exactly the way back to Han Bang Kwang. Seeing his opponent caught in the trap, Leuchtron was secretly pleased. He timed it perfectly and jumped as the tombstone rushed at him. "Goodbye, Mr. Skull." Watching Leuchtron fly past the Chingu skulls foolishly just stared at each other. Thanvu was so furious he even lost his usual arrogance. "What are you just standing there for? Chase him for me," he shouted. The Chingu skulls finally snapped back to their senses, but they couldn't catch up to Leuchtron anymore. When they chased to the border of the Great Tomb area, they saw the large tombstone had been left behind. Leuchtron didn't even waste time escaping. He carved a few words there, thanking the Spirit Lord for the large tombstone. He even carved a big heart next to it. The Chingu skulls looked dumbfounded, seeing only the letters were beautiful, and the heart was very pretty too. Thanvu was so enraged by his subordinate's ignorance, he was about to vomit blood. His whole body radiated murderous intent, fiercely scaring everyone. The Chingu skulls could only bow their heads low, begging their lord to calm down. He then issued a manhunt order for Leuchtron. Whoever finds him must kill him without mercy. But how could they catch Leuchtron when he had already returned to Han Bang Kwang to hand over the mission? After Ita Luan received the 10 fingers, the mission was officially completed. Leuchtron leveled up again, gaining 200 experience points. He also received 5 reputation points and an item glowing wrist armor. This gave him 8 physical resistance points, 4 magic resistance, and 2 strength points. Leuchtron quickly put it on. This wrist armor seemed to match well with his chest armor. Finally, new gear one step closer to completing full-body equipment. Leuchtron muttered that his attributes had also increased quite a bit. Although he still couldn't directly confront the Spirit Lord, he could now fight Chingu skulls to level up. Luan couldn't hide his shock when he heard that. "You've already faced the Chingu skulls and the Spirit Lord Thanvu." "Exactly," Leuchtron nodded repeatedly. "If I hadn't been quick-witted, I might not have made it back." Luan's expression suddenly became serious. Then he patted Leuchtron on the shoulder painfully, saying it was because Leuchtron got involved with the Spirit Lord. So he had to accept another mission. Recently, that Thanvu has been preparing to summon a large number of skulls to attack Han Bang Kwang. Given the situation, Luan believed they had to strike first to gain the upper hand. As soon as Luan finished speaking, a new set of missions was sent to Leuchtron. These were all high-level missions, likely even tougher than the earlier skull missions. The first mission was to hunt down 200 skeletal warriors and collect 20 of their fingers to deliver to Luan. Upon completion, the reward would be a piece of dark stone equipment, 200 experience points, and 21 prestige points. The second mission was to hunt 200 thorny skeletal warriors and collect 40 fingers from them to bring to Luan. The reward included another piece of equipment, 3000 experience points, and 45 prestige points. The final and toughest mission was a direct confrontation with the skeletal guards of the Spirit Lord Than Vu. The goal was to stall so that the Spirit Swordsman Luan could hunt down the Spirit Lord. Completing the mission would grant a piece of bronze sword equipment 500 experience points and 100 prestige points. After reading the mission board, Luke Tron could only break out in a cold sweat. Although the rewards were generous, completing the tasks would definitely not be easy. Wealth and honor must be earned in dangerous circumstances. As long as you don't let the Spirit Lord absorb your soul fireworm, you'll be fine. Luan reassured him. Seeing him bring up the soul fireworm, Luke Tron took the opportunity to ask his master his doubt. What exactly is this soul fireworm? Luan explained that the soul fireworm is the source of life for the Night Spirit clan. The Night Spirit consists of 4 major sub-clans that together rule over all Night Spirits. The largest in number is the Vong Lin clan. Next is the Thi Yeo clan, known for their strongest physical constitution. Then the Tinlin clan masters of advanced magic. And finally, the Yu Kui clan with spirit possession abilities that make them immune to any physical harm, the most numerous. So Luke Tron asked suspiciously, why do I feel like our Vong Lin clan is somewhat inferior? Among the 4 major Night Spirit subclans, only our Vong Lin clan can absorb the Soul Fire Worm and undergo endless evolution. We are the strongest Night Spirits. Luke Tron still didn't fully understand what made them strong, but seeing Luan's serious expression, he figured it wasn't a lie. Master, what happens if someone's soul fireworm gets absorbed? They fall into a dark hell and are erased from existence in this world. Luke Tron swallowed nervously. Isn't that basically being wiped out of the world completely? It seems the nature of the Vong Lin clan is quite fierce. They can only evolve by absorbing the souls of their own kind, starting as simple spirits, then upgrading to spirit generals, then spirit lords, and finally spirit kings. Ultimately, by absorbing enough soul fireworms, they can become the strongest beings in the Night Spirit world. The absolute rulers known as the Night Spirit Kings, or simply Tu-La. Master looked at Luke Tron thoughtfully for a moment before continuing. Sura is the path of continuous evolution. It is the glorious duty of the Tu Lin clan. I no longer have a chance, but you have awakened the unique Tu Lin power. You will definitely succeed in the future. I am very supportive of you. Luke Tron nodded slightly, then said he wanted to hunt the green skeletons. Master cautioned him to be careful. You are the hope of the Tu Lin clan. Luke Tron's figure quickly disappeared, so he did not hear his master's next words. He is also my hope. Outside the green bone tomb, a group of level 15 green skeletons guarded the area. At that moment, a level 3 messenger crow flew over and cawed a few times. The green skeletons looked up in surprise and suspicion. It kept cawing loudly upward. Is there something up there? Another shook his head in denial. Don't joke around, those tombstones are too tall for anything to climb up. That was true. Those tombstones were indeed very tall. They thought it was just other birds perched up there, but there really was someone up there. It was Luke Tran. You were hiding on a tomb, waiting until those blue skeletons disappeared before you breathed a sigh of relief. That was close. You have to patrol somewhere else. Luke Tran avoided the blue skeletons, then went to patrol. After half an hour, you had a clear understanding of the situation. Outside the tomb area, there are 8 patrol teams of blue skeletons. Each team has 5 members plus a messenger crow for communication. You have to take down the crow first so they can't call for backup. The biggest problem is that every 10 minutes, 2 teams meet once. Every 10 minutes, you have to eliminate 2 teams while avoiding detection. Then every 10 minutes, you have to take out 2 more teams like that. This is truly a big challenge for Luke Tron. He pondered for a moment. Then he still decided to act, waiting until the blue skeletons passed by here. He started the timer, then without a word launched the attack. The first group of blue skeletons was ambushed by him unexpectedly. The blue skeletons screamed in terror, but before they could see anything, Luke Tron's sword cut through the messenger crow's body. The first step succeeded. His speed was too fast. The blue skeletons basically couldn't react. Every single sword strike knocked down a blue skeleton. The disgusting slime splattered everywhere in the air. He began to use his skills. In the blink of an eye, pale purple lights appeared. The blue skeletons feared that if he finished his skill, they'd be doomed. One of them aggressively charged and pointed his finger at him, but Luke Tron had already completed the Chu reception skill. The sword lights attacked the blue skeletons like lightning. The speed of the sword light was so fast that the naked eye couldn't see it. The blue skeletons couldn't catch up either. They took the full brunt of Luke Tran's skill, but he still felt too slow. He had to be faster. He didn't have much time. Before long, all the blue skeletons had fallen. Only one blue fingerbone segment hovered in the air. Luke Tran saw this and felt a bit dissatisfied. The drop rate was too low. The clock was almost at 2 minutes. Luke Tron knew he no longer had time to use the deadly fan skill. At this rate, the second team would arrive in 7 minutes. That means he had to finish each battle within 1 minute. It was a bit tough. Time flew by. After a while, strange lightning suddenly appeared in the sky, surprising the patrolling blue skeletons. What's happening? But when they saw the bodies of the blue skeletons and messenger crows on the ground, they were even more terrified. All 8 teams were wiped out. If they didn't change shifts, no one would have noticed. This shift of blue skeleton patrols had increased in level. One hesitated, wondering whether to report to their master. But another stopped him today. They let that person escape once, which already angered their master. If this happens again, the master will be completely disappointed in them. As soon as these words were spoken, the blue skeletons behind nodded in agreement. The leader ordered to double the number of patrol teams. Personnel doubled. Each team equipped with 4 messenger crows to expand the search range. They must catch the troublemaker. Meanwhile, Luke Tron was hiding in the life zone, silently checking how many blue skeletons were left. So far, he had only taken down 40. He had only collected 4 finger bones. To complete the mission was still far away. He had to go deeper into the tomb to hunt more. But Luke Tron still had some gains. Defeating 40 had leveled him up to 13. Completing the mission would get him to level 15. He wondered what his ranking was now, then couldn't help but glance at the leaderboard. Seeing the top player, he couldn't help but sigh. That Ghost Valley kid is already level 18, way ahead. Definitely someone grinding levels hard. And he was only level 13, so what was his rank? He kept scrolling the leaderboard to find his name, but after scrolling for a long time, still couldn't see it. Until he stopped outside the top 100 at position 125, he finally saw his name. Seeing this position, you can't help but feel dissatisfied. In Lindong, you always ranked in the top 100, but here you dropped to 125, which is unacceptable. You have to get into the top 100. Thinking this, you immediately grabbed your sword and wanted to run. But at that moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the darkness. It was the Ling Ghost Valley Knight. Luke Tron stared in horror at the person in front of him. It really was the Ghost Valley Knight. Through the Ghost Valley, Knight Luke Tron learned that he was under a manhunt order. He was a bit surprised. Why was he suddenly being hunted? The Ghost Valley Knight came for the 500 gold bounty. He had been searching for Luke Tron, but unexpectedly ran into him here. Squinting at the man before him, Hu Lang said coldly, "Your bounty isn't going to be easy to claim." The Ghost Valley. Knight chuckled softly. "That's even better. If you were too weak, it wouldn't be interesting at all." As he finished speaking, the spear in his hand lunged toward Luke Tron. His spear thrust wasn't very fast. Luke Tron easily dodged the strike. The Ghost Valley Knight was surprised by this. Luke Tron really dodged it. Moreover, he even caused damage to him. He immediately counterattacked. The spear stabbed again. This time it grazed Luke Tron's arm, causing him to lose some blood. Luke Tron took advantage of the moment the spear was pulled back to jump away. He looked at him thoughtfully. His reaction speed was slightly slower than Luke Tron's, but his defense was very strong. This was probably the advantage of the Ling Ghost Valley Knight's profession. Now his fighting spirit was overflowing. The opponent was quite good. He really wanted to keep fighting with Luke Tron. He charged forward again. Luke Tron didn't back down either. He gripped his sword tightly, ready to respond. When the spear tip was almost close enough to touch him, he saw the opportunity. He then used the tip of his sword to knock the spear back. The Ghost Valley Knight couldn't believe it. Looking at Luke Tron, he timed it perfectly. Immediately he flipped the spear up. For a moment he was stunned. Luke Tron charged forward with his sword, still mocking, "Don't be so stunned. He's number 1 after all." As he finished speaking, purple energy blades appeared around him. He activated the Chu form. Sharp sword beams slashed toward the Ghost Valley Knight, dealing heavy damage. By the time he reacted again, he was trembling, firmly holding the spear to defend. Although injured, he seemed fine. After steadying himself, he bit his lip fiercely. "If you've used up your skills now, it's my turn." With that, he charged at Luke Tron. In an instant, his spear was wrapped in pale blue spiritual flames. It immediately pierced toward Luke Tron, but his weakness was his slow reaction speed. Luke Tron was able to dodge this piercing strike, but a few seconds later, a sharp pain suddenly shot through his head. Luke Tron's body trembled uncontrollably. The pain was unbearable. He could only lean his sword on the ground to support himself. At this moment, Luke Tron couldn't react in time and was stabbed, losing a large amount of blood. He knelt on the ground, deep in thought. What had just happened to him? His head felt like it was about to explode. Seeing Luke Tron was in trouble, the Ghost Valley Knight charged aggressively, cursing nonstop, "I told you to surrender." At this moment, Luke Tron could no longer move to dodge. He could only raise his sword to defend against the spear. He bit his lip fiercely, trying his best to hold the defense. But the spear went deeper and deeper. The Ghost Valley Knight clearly gained the upper hand. He lightly twisted his wrist, knocking Luke Tron's sword far away. Luke Tron blinked, watching his weapon fly out of reach. Silently, he thought his life was over. He wanted to run to retrieve his weapon, but the Ghost Valley Knight wouldn't give him that chance. Hulong blocked his path. "Want your weapon back? Dream on." The spear stabbed into Luke Tron again, causing him to lose more blood. Luke Tron was a bit terrified. His weapon had been knocked away. His blood was already more than half gone. The opponent was fully equipped. He still had blood left, but at this rate he was going to lose. While you were thinking, Ghost Valley Master was not idle but thrust the spear forward. Seeing the spear tip almost pierce his chest, Lutron couldn't help but silently curse, "Not fast enough." Sure enough, he directly took a strike from Ghost Valley Master, causing him to be thrown backward. His body slammed hard against the tombstones behind him. Seeing this, Ghost Valley Master was filled with pride. Then he pulled back his spear. The fight should end easily now. But Lutron was uninjured. He could still stand up. He was a bit doubtful. Did he really block that strike? Ghost Valley Master looked at the person struggling to rise before him, still alive. But that was good. He immediately took out the camera. A skull appeared in midair. He wanted to record the moment he defeated Lutron to earn his reward. He had forgotten just now. Now he would put on a real fight. But when he saw Lutron's actions, he was a bit delighted. Lutron was intently staring at the leaves in front of him. Suddenly, purple sword light appeared from his hands. This strange action confused Ghost Valley Master completely. "Are you chopping falling leaves?" he thought with horror. The leaves falling randomly in the air suddenly shattered into 100 pieces. Lutron then laughed proudly. Indeed, that was it. The severe headache was due to the sudden drop from 5-second lag. This familiar feeling was the 2-second lag. Squinting at Ghost Valley Master in front of him, Lutron couldn't help but smile excitedly. Now there was a perfect test subject right here. He raised his eyebrows, provoking the person in front of him. Top rank round 2. Ghost Valley Master was angered by this arrogant behavior. Hulong looked down on someone unarmed, daring to be so aggressive. Lutron sneered arrogantly, saying handling him only took 2 fingers. He dared to underestimate him. He gripped the spear tightly and charged fiercely. He wanted to finish Lutron with this strike. Lutron clearly felt the strong momentum but remained calm. Casually raised his finger to block the spear tip. 1 second later, Ghost Immortal's spear was pushed aside. His speed was too slow. This scene shocked Ghost Valley Master. Using only 1 finger, the attack was easily deflected. This couldn't be. He was unwilling and attacked again. This time he used continuous piercing strikes. Each spear tip split into multiple pieces, coming at breakneck speed. But the result was the same. Lutron casually used his finger to push them back. Lutron squinted at the man in front of him, mocking Ghost Valley Master, "Your attacks are useless." Ghost Valley Master refused to lose, coldly saying, "Don't be arrogant, those were just normal moves. Watch how you handle this." As he finished, his spear turned into a sharp, long spear and stabbed forward, but Lutron remained calm. He smiled lightly, his tone full of contempt. With attacks like that, no need to block. He didn't move or dodge. The spear passed straight through him. But what shocked Ghost Valley Master was that the spear passed through without harming him. For a moment, he was stunned. Lutron approached and warned, "This is no time to be stunned." Then he punched him directly. Ghost Valley Master couldn't dodge and took the full punch. He had no idea when Lutron got so close to him. What just happened? No one could answer his question. Meanwhile, Lutron grabbed his long spear tightly. He kicked fiercely at his stomach, causing blood to spill. Not letting him react, Lutron pulled the spear out of his hand. Ghost Valley Master thought he was careless and slid on the ground, his weapon thrown far away by Lutron. Seeing him lying on the ground, Lutron immediately mocked, "He's without a weapon now. But you have now pulled out your sword that was stuck in the tombstone. The situation has changed." After saying that, you took a run forward. Once again, you used the Chunan continuous strike to attack Kui Kok Tu. You wanted to finish it in 1 move, but Kui Kok Tu wasn't giving up. He activated the Kui Jop Ba Te to protect his body. Kui Kok Tu smugly said to you, "This demon armor isn't something you can just break." Lutron frowned, looking at the invisible protective armor ahead, unable to help but admire. Impressive. But what amazed you even more was what came next. Kui Kok Tu suddenly acted. Could he have a backup weapon? Just as you guessed, Kui Kok Tu pulled out another long spear from his equipment stash. He aggressively threw it at Lutron. A pale blue energy enveloped the entire spear. Before long, the area in front was engulfed in a sea of flames. Meanwhile, Kui Koktu's Kui Jap Bate ended, and he fell into a weakened state for 15 seconds, with his defense reduced by 80%. Seeing the blazing fire before him, he breathed a sigh of relief, finally got rid of Luke Tran. But his spear was only stuck in the tombstone behind. As the flames gradually faded, Luke Tran's figure still stood calmly there, even raising an eyebrow provocatively. Does he really think he's dealt with me? He's got a long way to go. Kui Koktu couldn't believe it, looking at the person in front of him who had been hit directly by his piercing fire missile attack, but was unharmed. Luke Tran chuckled softly, teasing him, asking too many questions. Just as he finished speaking, he vanished. When he reappeared, he was right in front of Kui Koktu, plunging a sword strike that dealt heavy damage. Kui Koktu bit his lip fiercely. His defense was too low now. Even a normal attack caused 106 damage. After the skill ended, his defense stats had dropped. Luke Tran realized this and saw it as a perfect chance to finish him off. So Luke Tran continued to attack. The spear in Kui Koktu's hand swung down fiercely. Your attack speed was too fast. Kui Koktu simply couldn't keep up. You didn't even need to use skills to knock him down. Luke Tran smiled victoriously at the defeated man. Top rank isn't bad, just unlucky to meet you. But only then did you realize Kui Koktu had died. You frowned dead just like that. Seems like he was scared. At Kui Koktu's house, even after dying, he couldn't leave the screen. He was still reviewing the battle video, unable to believe the speed had dropped to 5 points. He still couldn't see clearly what had happened. Kong Ton Kok had no grasp of your execution method. Looks like he had to check frame by frame to figure it out. So he kept adjusting the playback speed to watch the slow-motion footage where you used your skill step by step. Kong Ton Kok paused and examined every bit like a pro. He finally understood the problem. You just shifted a bit to dodge the attack, then immediately returned to the original position, creating the illusion the spear had pierced through. This speed and technique were unbelievable. Only experts like Truk An Luan and Lok Tran in the Hall of Fame could do it. Thinking this, he excitedly grabbed such a large gaming device. He couldn't miss out. Meanwhile, in the game, you suddenly sneezed twice, not sure if someone was scolding you. In the Life Tomb area, it was still shrouded in dark, fearful night. Kui Koktu returned quickly, but saw no sign of Luke Tran. Not sure if he had logged out or gone on a mission. But it didn't matter. As long as he was still in Hanbang Kung or the big cemetery, he would definitely find him. Luke Tran, who was hiding behind a tombstone, suddenly sneezed again. You suspected you might have caught a cold, or maybe someone kept reminding you. Otherwise, why keep sneezing like this? While you were lost in thought, a sharp voice suddenly rang out, "It's the Blue Bones Patrol!" No one knew who ambushed them to make them work overtime on their day off. The date was ruined. Then they kept insulting, calling him a coward who only knows how to attack from behind, too scared to show up because they have numbers on their side. They even called him a lonely dog who doesn't know how to enjoy his day off. He heard every word, making him shiver. They even dared to call him a coward. So he decided not to wait any longer, shouted loudly, then jumped down to attack, startling the Blue Bone gang. Looking up at the messenger bird, he hurriedly let out a shout. The Blue Bone guy looked confused at him, but before he could react, he was slashed by him. And he didn't hide it anymore, openly admitting that he was the one who took them down. The messenger bird and the Blue Bone guy it was perched on were both cut in half by him collapsing on the spot in the blink of an eye. Looking at the corpse at his feet, his eyes were filled with hatred. That damn dry-bone bastard dared to call him a lonely dog. He just didn't want to make his leader feel any worse. The Blue Bone gang was stunned by his move and only realized after a long moment, then shouted loudly, "He is the one Sue wants to catch and also the one ambushing the patrol team." In the blink of an eye, messenger crows filled the sky. The leader quickly ordered the others to follow him. At the same time, the messenger crows in the sky sounded an alarm. The northeast side of the 6th Tomb team is under ambush by enemies. Seeing this scene, the Blue Bone guy smugly said, "Luke Tran, surrender quickly." But Luke Tran wasn't scared at all, even complimenting them for being smart to spread the signal which he couldn't block. At that moment, the Blue Bone guy charged at Luke Tran, telling him to watch this move. Luke Tran calmly looked at him with eyes full of contempt. Seeing his arrogant attitude, the leader immediately ordered the whole gang to rush together and take him down. In an instant, a fierce battle broke out in a section of the tomb. But the Blue Bone gang was no match for Luke Tran. No matter how they fought, they couldn't hit him. Then they were shocked and asked how he could dodge attacks so easily. But Luke Tran didn't answer them. Another guy reassured reinforcements from Dung Huang Quan are on the way. Luke Tran smiled excitedly, even better then. Hopefully they arrive a bit faster because sitting and waiting after taking down those in front is really boring. As soon as he finished speaking, he acted pale purple energy continuously dancing in the air. Their speed was so fast that the naked eye couldn't catch it. Then came screams of terror. Next, the blue tomb constantly echoed with the messenger crow's announcements. Patrol teams were continuously ambushed, but Luke Tron kept changing direction, making it impossible for them to predict. The Bluebone team leader, upon hearing the 8th team was ambushed, ordered Bluebone to rush east to prevent Luke Tron from escaping. But while they were running, Luke Tron was also running toward them. The team leader sensed the movement and stopped. Something was coming. But before he could react, a sword light appeared out of nowhere and slashed at his neck. He was cut halfway through. This left him stunned, wondering what had just happened. He hurriedly asked the Bluebone guys behind if they were okay, but when he looked back, he was terrified. His soldiers had been completely defeated. 2 fingers were still hovering in the air. The team leader looked at the scattered soldiers' bodies on the ground and shouted angrily, "Who did this?" He quickly scanned the area and indeed saw a vague figure standing there. He recognized it as the dry bone guy Sue was looking for, but Luke Tron in front wasn't paying attention to him. He was constantly regretting that he still hadn't regained his previous speed and accuracy. He still let one lucky guy survive. After all that hunting, he had taken down 215 blue bones and 19 fingers, but it still wasn't enough. Ignored by the team leader, he angrily continued questioning. "Weren't you in the Eastern Tomb area?" Luke Tron raised an eyebrow, looked at him, and mocked. "Their reinforcements were too slow, so I had to come here myself." Saying this, the sword in his hand once again showed signs of wanting to attack. "Enough nonsense, you should finish off the last guy. The captain you looked down on angrily scolded you for being insolent." He fiercely swung the mace in his hand, trying to smash down. Unfortunately, his speed was too slow. Luke Tron dodged to the side and avoided his mace. The mace smashed onto the ground. He didn't expect to miss. But something even more unbelievable happened. Luke Tron's figure flickered like a ghost, appearing and disappearing. The sword wrapped in purple energy began to trigger a critical strike. Within seconds, the captain was cut down and fell to the ground, dropping the last finger item, which was finally obtained. Mission complete.